Show of hands. Who here knows Heather Cox Richardson, HCR? Oh, look at that. Another show of hands. Who's heard of Diana Butler Bass? Not as well known. And finally, who listened to HCR's recent podcast featuring her conversation with Bass in November? Okay, well, you're going to hear about it. So Heather Cox Richardson is an American historian and professor at Boston College. She's written extensively on American political history, especially on the rise and consequences of authoritarian movements. In 2019, she began publishing her Substack, Letters from an American, where each night she offers clear, accessible explanations of current events through the lens of history. Diana Butler Bass is also a historian of Christianity. She has authored many books on faith and spirituality and social history of religion. She has written for the New York Times, contributes to numerous publications, and has her own Substack, The Cottage. Her work often bridges the gap between academic church history and the lived spiritual experience of everyday Christians. HCR interviewed Bass in November about Bass's new book, A Beautiful Year, which explores how Christians experience time through the rhythm of their liturgical year. But the conversation quickly opened into much bigger themes: the origins of the Christian movement, the transformation of Christianity when it became tied to empire, the story of Christianity in America, and finally, how we're witnessing a resurgence of imperial Christianity in our country and the beginnings of an uprising within American Christianity, pushing back against that resurgence. In the last few minutes of the podcast, minutes which I will read at the end, Bass speaks with powerful imagery. She expresses deep horror and outrage at the way imperial Christianity is resurfacing in our nation. But she also describes how that very outrage is becoming a source of hope, a catalyst of action, and a force drawing Christians and non-Christians alike who long for a world shaped by justice, hospitality, mercy, and love. I found the entire conversation moving and was struck by Bass's framing of early Christianity as the first No Kings movement. I'd like to share a brief overview of their discussion before reading Bass's closing words. Bass begins by explaining that Christianity emerged within a conflict between two different types of time. On one side was the Jewish time, seasonal, cyclical, rooted in rhythms of Sabbath, shalom, and community life. And on the other side, the Roman calendar, strictly linear, built around the idea that history began with Rome and would continue indefinitely under the power of empire. Over time, the linear, imperial Roman way of marking time overtook the Jewish cyclical sense of time within the Christian practice. Christianity, as it became aligned with empire, began telling its own story as if it were an imperial story destined to rule forever. Yet the shape of the Christian liturgical year itself remains profoundly non-imperial. It's non-linear, it's circular. It begins with Advent, the season we just entered, where humanity longs for liberation from Caesar and from oppression. Then comes the birth of a child, Jesus, whose life proclaims a new kind of kingdom, one marked with generosity, gratitude, and radical sharing. Before Jesus' birth, Mary offers her prophetic song: "Rulers will be cast down, the lowly will be lifted up, the hungry filled, and the rich sent away empty." This, however, was a direct challenge to the ruling King Herod, a violent king desperate to keep his throne. Herod's fear leads him to killing all male infants, an attempt to crush the promise of peace before it can grow. But Jesus survives, and the story of his life becomes an ongoing confrontation between the peace of God's kingdom and the power of empire. This conflict culminates in his death on a cross, what appears to be the empire's victory, only to be overturned by the resurrection. In this way, the Christian year tells a story of power challenged, injustice exposed, and divine love refusing to be conquered. Bass then moves to the 4th century, when Emperor Constantine claimed a vision of the cross before entering battle, from which he was victorious. He used Christianity as a tool to unify the empire and win military battles. This moment birthed what Bass calls imperial Christianity, a form of faith aligned with political and military power. According to Bass, from that point on, Christianity contained 2 strains, the imperial strain and the grassroots renewal movements led by ordinary believers seeking faith rooted in compassion, equality, and justice. The conversation then shifts to America. Early American evangelicalism, HCR notes, actually began as a renewal movement, democratic, inclusive, anti-imperial, and often used to confront those in power. But Bass points out that in her opinion, in the last 70 years, much of evangelicalism fell into 2 traps, either focusing solely on saving souls for heaven while ignoring earthly justice, or trying to bring about God's kingdom on earth, but imagining it in imperial hierarchical terms, rather than the vision of Jesus. Yet Bass notes throughout American history, there have always been other Christians, Lutherans, Episcopalians, Methodists, social justice Catholics, who rejected imperial Christianity and focused instead on community, compassion, and justice. HCR then asked Bass whether she sees a growing backlash against imperial Christianity today. And this is where Bass offers powerful words, which I'll now read. I do think that the backlash is getting more traction, but the contrast of imperial Christianity is so stark now, and imperial Christianity has so taken over the public face of Christianity. I mean, every morning I wake up and I think, what horror awaits me today? Not just politically, but also theologically. Because Pete Hegseth, just a few weeks ago, put out a TikTok, and that TikTok was Pete Hegseth, the head of the Department of Now War, who wears his Christianity on tattoos like they're his sleeves, and it's Crusader Christianity. He was reading or saying the Lord's Prayer, and the pictures on the TikTok were of bombers and people being killed by American soldiers. And that is imperial Christianity run amok. And it's horrible in terms of politics and foreign policy and all those things. And if you're a Christian and not looking at that, I can't stand talking about it because it's what the church has called, for all its history, if not blasphemy, and that's taking the words of God and using them in the opposite purpose. So taking the words of love, give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses. It's a prayer about mercy. It's a prayer about provision. It's a prayer about gratitude and turning it into genocidal madness. I don't know what to call that other than heresy, and so that's what we're seeing. And that contrast has made Christians across the board who disagree, who see that, and who are as horrified as I am. We're standing up. And lots of times in the last 2 or 3 decades, we were very quiet. We assumed that good would always win out, and that's the kind of people we were. But now we're looking around, we're saying, hey, wait a second. Sometimes good has to be noisy, and good has to find allies, and good has to work with other people who may not share our views on a lot of particulars of theology, but who are also striving to create a better world for more and more people, a world of justice, hospitality, and love. And so I think that we're finding each other. That means we're making common cause in our spaces, and we're just being louder than we were before. And so, friends, Bass calls us to a choice to join with others across religions, across political differences, who are working to build a world shaped by justice, hospitality, and love. So let us choose hope. Let us be noisy. Let us find allies. Let us strive together to create a better world for more and more people. Amen.
I don't pay much heed to the Christian liturgical calendar, as I'm sure many of you don't, with the exception of Christmas when it comes, maybe Easter. But for me, I think actually the season in the liturgical calendar that I love the most is Advent. It's a time of hope, and there's something stirring. There's a particular kind of quiet that settles in this time of year, a quiet that feels like waiting, but not passive waiting. It's the kind where you sense something is shifting beneath the surface, something drawing near, not yet visible, but unmistakably something approaching. It's definitely captured in that very old hymn, O come, Emmanuel, which maybe that's one of the reasons I like Advent so much. It's one of my favorite hymns, and you only have a short window to sing it. It's like those first 3 weeks of December, and you've got to get it in, or else, it's not. I mean, the Christmas ones are even shorter, right? You get 2 days to sing them here, and that's it. But I look forward to it every year, and I try to make this hymn in. And I was thinking while I was sitting over there, what is it about it that draws me in so much? And Jeremy saying how old it was and reminding me, I'm like, maybe it's just an ancestral muscle memory that we have for that hymn, because those of us who maybe have Christian ancestry, our folks have been singing that hymn, did you say since the 9th century? Where did he go? Something like that? Like, that's a long time of muscle memory, right? Maybe that hymn resonates with you that way. It's a hymn about longing and yearning, an ancient ache for comfort and liberation. And even if we don't use the language literally anymore in its original writing, we still use it to look toward something that is not yet here and to trust that something is coming. Every week we gather here, bringing the world in with us. Its heaviness that you just spoke of, its uncertainty, its fractures. We bring our private grief and hope as well. And still, something in us leans forward. Something in us keeps looking out to a horizon that we can't ever fully get to. And I'm reminded of a story of a student who once asked their teacher, why do we talk so much about what's on the horizon when you can't literally reach the horizon? If you walk to that point, all that you'll find is another horizon in the distance. And they stood there, teacher and student, looking out where the earth met the sky. And after a long silence, the teacher said, "You're right, the horizon can't be reached. But notice something. Every step you take toward it changes you, changes what you see. It's not the destination that transforms you, it's the direction that you're taking." And the student stood quietly, letting the meaning settle in. The horizon didn't move, but they did. Hope is like that. It's a direction that we choose again and again and again. And this is where that old hymn meets us. There's something about O come, Emmanuel, that reaches past doctrine and goes straight to the human heart. Its power is not in literal belief, but in the universal experience of longing that song so captures for us. Now, the word Emmanuel means God is with us. As you use, we might use that as a metaphor for love is with us. It is that which is most sacred showing up in our human lives. And the cry of the hymn, O come, it's not passive waiting, it's a summons, a calling forth, a way of saying, come courage, come justice, come compassion, come hope. Come dwell among us. We are ready for you. And it also matters, I got all kinds of stuff for you in this sermon, Jeremy. It also matters that the melody is in a minor key, am I right? 80%? It's 80% a minor key.
Minor didn't exist yet.
Oh, it's in whatever, the precursor to minor key. Whatever was solemn before that existed. But it's important that it's in that because it tells the truth. That's what a minor key does. It tells the truth. It doesn't jump straight to cheerfulness. It sits in yearning, in that honest, tender place where many of us find ourselves today, in these days. Because hope doesn't grow out of ease, not at all. Hope grows out of the ache that we have deep inside. Hope begins in small, dark, hidden places. Then, when it is shared in community, it grows and it grows and it grows. And then we move to the refrain, rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel. Rejoice, rejoice, love is with us. Not because everything is all right, but because something new is possible, even before we can see it, even before we can reach it. When we sing this hymn, we're not waiting for a Savior to arrive. We're opening ourselves to the presence of hope and justice. We're choosing that direction to move toward the horizon. We're setting ourselves on the path to be changed and to enable change around us. Hope. This is the kind of hope that Reverend Victoria Safford writes about in one of her poems, which invites us to embrace a UU theology of hope. She writes, "Our mission is to plant ourselves at the gates of hope, not the prudent gates of optimism, not the strident gates of self-righteousness, not the flimsy garden gates of everything's gonna be all right, but a different, sometimes lonely place, the place of resistance and defiance, the place from which you can see the world both as it is and as it could be. And we stand there beckoning and calling, telling people what we are seeing and asking people what they see." Friends, this is hope. When we speak of hope here, this is what we mean. This kind of hope is not passive. It is an act of courage. It is a living out of the love that we are grounded in. And we encounter this invitation to lean in that direction of hope every day, every day. We encounter it when we're listening to podcasts. We encounter it in conversations around kitchen tables or in the social hall. We encounter it in small acts of compassion. We encounter it when we have the courage to repair relationships, in the belief that communities like ours can help bend that arc towards justice, towards healing, towards belonging. And it grows, and it grows, and it grows when we show up, even when we are tired. It grows when we tell the truth about our despair and still reach toward joy and peace and justice. It grows when we hold both struggle and possibility at the same time, because we're capable of holding both at the same time. And that's what we do here in this community. For this congregation, hope is not an accessory, it's central to our ministry together. Every time we choose compassion over cynicism, every time we create space for beauty, every time we work for justice, every time we imagine a future where liberation is possible for everyone, we are practicing hope. We are planting ourselves at its gates and beckoning others to join us. O come, you wisdom from on high, from depths that hide within a sigh, to temper knowledge with our care, to render every act a prayer. Rejoice, rejoice. Love is with us and lives within us as hope to dwell. This season, this Advent season that happens right before the solstice, when the days are growing shorter, and the shadows lengthen, reminds us that hope rarely comes in a blaze of brightness. More often, it arrives quietly, a single thread of possibility shared, a soft note sounding in the dark, a horizon we can't quite see yet still feel tugging us forward. So may we keep leaning in that direction. May we keep listening for a song that calls us onward. May we plant ourselves firmly at the gates of possibility, truth tellers, risk takers, joy seekers, and ask one another again and again, what do you see on the horizon? And how can we walk there together? Blessed be. Amen.